E-girl is a somewhat difficult word to pin down a definition to as it changes depending on the era. But in short, they are young women who encapsulate the pinnacle of looks and personality for the terminally online men that obsess over them. While often a sexually charged term, especially in a modern era which streamlines a woman's ability to sell explicit content on the World Wide Web, that isn't always the case, with many not expecting to be a snapshot of the online zeitgeist for their 15 minutes of fame. So where exactly did the idea of an e-girl start? And how has it morphed into the modern definition of the term? Well, since I didn't feel there were any adequate resources to answer this question, today I'll dig deep into the history of this ever-changing archetype. Our story begins all the way back in the 1990s, when the idea of live streaming was largely unheard of. Jennifer K. Ringley was a 19-year-old college student and web designer. In 1996, she came up with an idea to play with the concept of a real-time documentary. The premise was simple. She put up an early webcam in her dorm room and programmed it to take a photo every 15 minutes. The pictures would then be shared to the site JenniCam.org, chronicling her life 24/7 for the entire world to see. JenniCam was launched officially on April 14th. It was slow, grainy, and in black and white, but it was still the closest thing the public had ever seen to a contemporary live stream. Because of its novelty, she began getting major news coverage and at her peak was reaching 4 million hits a day. It was a national phenomenon, with Jenny big enough to be recognized on the street. Her TV appearances included David Letterman, The Today Show, and World News Tonight.
This will replace television as we know it now. This will replace television because this is really all people want. People are lonely and desperate. They're lonely, desperate, miserable human beings. They're reaching out. They want to see life somewhere else taking place.
Viewers tuned in to watch the young woman eat, sleep, watch TV, study, and even masturbate. What you have to understand is that Jenny was raised a nudist and had no reservations being naked on camera. It's easy to understand why many consider her the first cam girl, but she was quick to separate herself from that label. This site is not pornography. Yes, it contains nudity from time to time. Real life contains nudity. Yes, it contains sexual material from time to time. Real life contains sexual material. However, this is not a site about nudity and sexual material. It is a site about real life. The first time she kissed her boyfriend on stream, the sheer amount of traffic crashed the website. They broke up shortly thereafter, and while she was open to public intimacy, it was hard to find a partner to go along with it. For the longest time, she dated a man named Joffrey who was camera shy, so whenever they got intimate, the camera was turned off. However, sexual content became a larger aspect of her stream over time, most likely due to it drawing more attention. She started using a vibrator and giving stripteases. It was during one such performance she received a threatening email demanding she show more. When Jenny refused, they hijacked her website. The culprits turned out to be a bunch of teenage pranksters. I didn't leave my room for 3 days. I kept all the blinds closed. I was scared out of my mind. Now I have an unlisted phone and address, and I have security at the front desk of my apartment. As you can tell, there was a huge parasocial element to JenniCam. She kept a public journal, often responding to letters from fans. There was also a JenniCon, an open invitation every year to hang out with her at her home. That's without mentioning the numerous forums and fan sites. She would help spawn some of the earliest gossip forums, most notably Peeping Mo's. As time went on, the line separating her from other cam girls blurred, and she began to face more scrutiny. Now, JenniCam wasn't intended to be a source of income at first. Her actual career was a freelance web designer. In 1997, Jenny landed a gig working at National Geographic. This barely lasted 2 weeks though. Jenny claimed she quit voluntarily to spend more time on camera, but one user recalled she tried to set up a cubicle cam at work, speculating it may have gotten her fired. A year later, she moved with her boyfriend to Washington, D.C. They installed 3 new cameras, one in her bedroom, one in the kitchen, and one in the living room. It was followed by the creation of a $15 subscription, which allowed users to refresh every 2 minutes. The guest view was lowered to change every 20 minutes to encourage people to pay up. Then in October, she formed JKR Inc., which she used to DMCA old pics of her webcam. She also deleted accounts suspected of piracy. It was evidently becoming more and more of a business. Jenny's original appeal was that she lived an otherwise relatable life, but this was unfortunately lost with her newfound popularity. Upon moving, she got a larger apartment and bought more expensive furniture. She took several so-called business trips to Amsterdam with her accountant Jody, but not much work seemed to be getting done. Most people accused them of just hanging out and smoking weed there. These instances would make way for a growing community of jolted ex-viewers. There were a lot of complaints to varying degrees of legitimacy. Some felt she was lazy and wasn't trying that hard to find a real job. For example, one fan offered to hire Jenny to design a site for his company. She allegedly didn't have a portfolio, showed up late to meetings, and didn't return his follow-up calls. She also stopped fulfilling stream goals, making little to no effort to even try to honor them. Finally, her content grew more promiscuous. Jenny broke up with Joffrey in 1999 and began sleeping with other men on stream. This led to a love triangle between her, Joff, and another man named Bob. They both would have intercourse on stream at separate intervals. It slowly fell apart as Jenny began using her journal to air out her issues with both of them. By the spring of 2000, she seemingly moved on from both affairs. With that said, she still had many loyal followers. There was once a website dedicated to Jenny titled "A Tribute to a Web Goddess." This early example of an online simp stated here, "In these pages you will find my personal favorite pictures of Jenny. While there may be some more explicit pictures inside, if you are looking for an archive of nudes, please go elsewhere." It was created by a fan named Josh, who became her system administrator. He was also a moderator at Peeping Moo's, which many suspected allowed him to influence their discussions. Many felt she was stringing him along, inviting the lonely man to hang out in person several times. That included one instance in which she apparently visited and sat on her couch watching the stream while Jenny and Joff had sex in the other room. In February of 2000, Jenny visited Sacramento, California. She was scheduled to meet up with AIDS patients at a hospital for charity, a request by a fan. The residents prepared a party complete with a cake that read, "Welcome, Jenny." But she canceled an hour before through her assistant, claiming the drive was inconvenient from where they were staying. Instead, she would end up using the trip to hang out with other streamers. You see, over time, Jenny stopped antagonizing her competitors. Instead, she began hanging out and collaborating with other early cam girls. That came to include a couple by the name of Dex and Courtney. The two were set to get married that year with their wedding scheduled for November 11th. Courtney and Jenny became close friends, and Dex even went out of his way to defend Jenny from the haters publicly. They hung out in California, and before long she was making plans to move out to San Francisco herself. Viewers quickly noticed the way she talked about her old friend in Cali sounded like a fling. That April, she was finally able to move across the country with help from Courtney. They ended up living in houses on the opposite side of the block, which meant their backyards touched. It seemed like everything was going well until a bombshell dropped on July 10th, 2000. That day, Courtney made a post revealing her and Dex had broken up. It turns out the man dumped her after successfully making a move on Jenny. This destroyed Courtney to the point she checked herself into a hospital. I posted on my BBS that I was going back to Sacramento tonight. Then I was told that Dex and Jenny were having sex on cam again. I have to let the control that this situation has over me go for my own health or I'll break. So she can have it all. My man, my backyard, my neighborhood. I wasn't meant to have it. I'll be back sometime this week to find a place and pack. I hope I'll be able to keep my dog. I miss her. I miss home. Not only did Jenny not seem to care about this objectively abhorrent behavior, but she was committed to the relationship. Within weeks, the couple had matching tattoos of each other's names on their fingers. Bear in mind, this is all while she now reportedly had $20,000 of debt. Needless to say, this era completely destroyed her image as fan groups, gossip sites, and news outlets sided against her. Jenny, how could you? You red-headed little minx. You immoral man-trapper, stealing your friend's fiancé and making love to him in front of thousands. Even her simp Josh turned his back. Jenny and Dex released their own account of events in August, but it did little to win people over. At the very least, she apologized to Courtney for all the damage she had done. Following this, her online presence isn't that interesting. It was enough of a disillusionment to erase the novelty that separated her from other cam girls. Jenny stopped updating her diary and lost all interest in the site. Surprisingly though, Dex and Jenny's relationship didn't crash and burn like many expected. They continued dating for years, having increasingly raunchier intercourse on camera. This proved to be a big mistake for reasons beyond audience capture. That's because in late 2003, she announced JenniCam would be shutting down for good on New Year's Eve. You see, PayPal started to crack down on pornography and closed her account for violating their acceptable use policy. This proved to be the final straw, and just like that, the project ended on December 31st, just as the clock struck midnight. By this point, there was little fanfare to the departure, and in the immediate years that followed, Jenny disappeared from the internet completely. After being live almost 24/7 for over 6 years straight, you'd probably want a bit of privacy too, I suppose. There have been a few interviews in the decades since that give a bit more insight as to where she's been. Her and Dex broke up 3 years later, and she's now married to someone else. She continues to work as a programmer and has all the footage from JenniCam sitting in her garage. To this day, Jennifer Ringley remains offline with no presence on social media. While many today don't know her name simply due to how early she was, this e-girl was without a doubt a trendsetter with a long-lasting legacy, inspiring the first wave of cam girls that came after. But with that being said, besides her pioneer status, she doesn't quite match the e-girl archetype that would soon start to flourish on a little image board called 4chan. But before we go any further in today's video, I'm feeling kinda peckish, so would you mind if I made something to eat? Perhaps spinach and mushroom chicken thighs with creamy parmesan and white wine sauce from today's sponsor, Factor? Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. Their team of gourmet chefs create each meal using only ingredients with integrity to help you feel your best all day long. Instead of getting takeout that's often extremely unhealthy and expensive, I like eating Factor instead. Their meals are stress-free and delicious. Not only are they delivered right to your doorstep, but you can choose from options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Also, you can discover more than 60 add-ons every week, including breakfast or juices. On top of this, when things get hectic, Factor is flexible. Change your order up every week with plans from 4 to 18 meals per week, or pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime. Since I work from home, I'm able to just go to my refrigerator and take one of these meals, eat it, then get back to work, so I'm not thinking about where I'm going to get lunch from every day. So head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50GFM to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50GFM at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. On January 6, 2005, photos of a girl with animal ears and badly applied makeup appeared on 4chan's random board. The very first had the words "Sup 4chan" written on her palm. While this might seem completely benign now, this was the first time something like this had ever happened. Naturally, with possibly the first woman ever present on 4chan, chaos ensued. It spawned a torrent of reposts, as well as art and fanfiction about assaulting her. One anon gave her the nickname Cracky Chan, because her red nose made it look like she snorted the drug. The name stuck, as their infatuation only grew over time. More photos started to appear, this time using a unique trip code to identify herself. Over the next 2 weeks, 21 new pictures of Cracky Chan emerged on B. In fact, she became so popular that Cracky was added to the banned word filter a month later. This did little to curb their collective obsession though, which only intensified when they realized she had stopped posting. It was devastating, to say the least. I'll never forgive you assholes for chasing that adorable girl away. You are all horrible, disgusting people, and I hope there's a God, and he makes you suffer in hell. I'll never again be able to fall asleep without thinking of her warm, cute, smiling face. You have ruined my life completely. Soon after, the stalking began. Their efforts turned up 3 different live journal accounts. The first named Freaky Girl wasn't archived. It was apparently an unrelated Finnish lookalike who got fed up with the attention and made all her posts private. The next, Kitty Cat, was even more dubious. There was a lot of uncertainty given that trolls could lead them astray with red herrings. The only real clue they had of the young girl's identity is that her IP was from the United Kingdom. This made the revelation on April 3rd particularly worrying. To fully understand why, we have to learn a bit about how 4chan works. If you recall, Cracky Chan began posting new photos using a trip code. Trip codes are one of the few ways to show your identity on the anonymous image board. On 4chan, this code is determined by an algorithm, which hashes whatever the user types as their password. The problem was, this algorithm was comically easy to crack. That day, a conversation with WT Snacks, one of 4chan's admins of the time, was shared online. It revealed Cracky Chan's trip code had been compromised for a while. Her passport was simple, just the word sweet. This was a huge deal because it meant any one of her posts could have been an imposter. It opened the possibility she may have never returned at all, and everyone had been thrown for a loop by some unknown stalker that obtained her photos. Of course, the entire ordeal was forgotten 3 days later when her actual live journal was found. This profile, Scarecrow Maiden, was indisputably her, with a collection of previously unseen self-portraits. It confirmed she lived in the UK, while revealing she was actually only 15 years old. Cracky immediately wiped her account, but by then the pictures had already made their way onto B. They weren't regular selfies, but compositions many felt had genuine artistic merit. It was enough to cement her as one of the site's enduring obsessions. Cracky became so popular that trying to talk about anything else on B became very difficult. By June, Snacks had had enough and made any mention of her a bannable offense. It was later revealed he acted due to an email from Cracky herself requesting an end to the hysteria. She had in fact made the original post on 4chan, but was drunk and quickly regretted it. While 4chan's moderators complied, her fans migrated to other image boards. There were numerous fan sites like Crackypedia, a collection of Cracky Chan fan art and cosplays. The most bizarre was a pseudo-religion declaring her the Sky Queen. It seemed like her cult-like following was here to stay, going strong even after a year of inactivity. They even began hacking her accounts for new photos, with the loneliest priding themselves on hoarding the rares. This was the final straw, and on February 12, 2006, she returned with a post on her live journal. "Hello Internet, I'm looking at you 420. I laughed, and then I was very, very disturbed. No questions answered. Please leave me alone. You have no idea how long it took me to remember my freaking password to this journal. You have no idea how creepy you guys are. I'm really flattered. Not. Fuck off. I was barely 15. Give me a break. I never expected to have my own cult. Nor do I want one. Thanks to you, I'm never keeping a diary on the internet again. Please go and fixate on someone else." Okay, some of it made me laugh a lot, but seriously guys, please stop. Cracky then posted it to 420chan herself, where she confronted her stalkers directly. To set the record straight, I am between the ages of 13 and 15 in all these pictures. I understand that it's this whole mystery and everything, but the reason I deleted everything should be clear. I don't want anybody's attention. The board was ultimately closed at her request. Following this, most of her appearances came from asking fan sites to shut down. They obliged, though she continued to face both online and real-life harassment. For example, in one instance, users found the Blockbuster she worked at and began calling to ask for her. Cracky's final public statement came in 2007. It was the result of a stalker that found enough info to contact her several different ways. They spoke over AOL Instant Messenger, but he decided to leak the photos she sent as proof publicly. I would have mailed the admin, but what's the point? This site was put up immediately after the 420 board went down, so obviously the admin has no regard for my feelings on the subject. Without any direct, consistent contact, the community around her slowly dwindled away. But she never fully lost relevance, inspiring many of those that came after. Unbeknownst to her, Cracky Chan marked the beginning of a new archetype, the modern e-girl. Her experience would set a precedent, echoed in countless similar cases that followed, with B responding similarly every time. Many women were inspired by her directly, donning the same makeup she did when she first posted on the site. They were each given their own Chan suffix, with names such as Reich Chan, Rabbit Chan, Squish Chan, and perhaps most famously, Creepy Chan. Allison Harvard was captivated by the internet long before it ever noticed her. The young woman's journey into the web started with a Spice Girls fan site which led her to explore GeoCities. As her curiosity grew, she discovered a darker side, frequenting shock sites like Rotten.com. This young artist had always been troubled. At 11, she developed a serious eating disorder, weighing only 90 pounds. It became so severe she briefly lost the ability to walk. Allison was hospitalized and sent to a rehab center. There she saw many images that would stick with her for life. I remember watching a girl in my house rip a feeding tube out of her nose and then try to throw herself out of the window. It was terrible. Her bed was covered in a sea of liquid food replacement. This period of her life left Allison with a lot of shame, feeling she had terrorized her family with her selfishness. To escape, she ventured online. The internet felt like a brave new world, one where she could be whoever she wanted. This attitude shaped her creative identity, as she began to use it as an outlet for self-expression. Allison first started posting photos online in 2003 at the age of 14. They quickly attracted attention for their stark, eerie atmosphere. Allison stares at the camera with a blank, wide-eyed expression. Her makeup is done to give off a sickly appearance. Many of the photos depict her with a bloody nose, and blood in general is a reoccurring theme. It's a huge contrast to her outfits, a pink wedding dress she found in her parents' attic. This wasn't just for photos either. At home, she began wearing the outfit all the time, aimlessly wandering around the house at night. Now, the picture didn't receive a huge amount of attention until 2005, when an anonymous user shared them on 4chan. Her strangeness caught B's attention, who were immediately fascinated. They first gave her the name Tussin Chan for her drugged-out appearance. Others called her their creepy little friend. But eventually she was known universally across the site as Creepy Chan. By then, Allison was 16, and had moved to MySpace and LiveJournal. It wasn't long until she started getting messages from friends about her popularity on 4chan. At first, she didn't know how to handle it, and sent an email to the admins demanding her photos get taken down.
I have this super embarrassing story where I actually had the audacity. I was like, who runs this? And I wrote a message to Moot, and I was like, I demand you take these photos. And now just looking back, oh my God, I had no idea what 4chan was.
Despite this, it would actually end up being a positive experience. There was a flood of fan art inspired by her work. The support gave her the confidence to keep on pursuing her dream. As is the case with most internet memes, Creepy Chan saw a spike in popularity before sliding into obscurity. By 2009, she was preparing to enroll at a college in Louisiana. Then she got a DM on MySpace from someone named Natalie, who claimed to be working for America's Next Top Model. They had stumbled upon her photos online and invited her to a closed casting call. Unsure of its legitimacy, she turned it down, but Natalie was determined, finding her home phone number and speaking to her mom. Allison did end up trying out, and to her shock was actually chosen to compete. That March, she appeared as a contestant in the show's 12th season. This revived the community's obsession, who were shocked to see her make such a high-profile appearance. On any other reality competition, a contestant like Allison probably wouldn't have lasted long. Her weird demeanor and interests seemed like they would alienate the audiences that usually watch this type of program. She often referenced her obsession with blood, and told the show's host, Tyra Banks, that she was jealous of people who got nosebleeds as a child, since she had never had one herself.
What does that mean?
I have a really big fascination with blood.
And I used to get them all the time as a child.
Jealous.
In addition, she would also occasionally say whatever strange things popped into her head with no filter, like when she told a fellow contestant, "You have a nice skeleton." These eccentricities are what made her stand out, with many finding her sincerity quite endearing. She managed to make it all the way to the final round, but unfortunately didn't win. She returned in 2011 for the show's All-Star cycle, but once again finished in second. While she never did secure that victory, the show got her foot in the door for a professional modeling career. Shortly after, she traveled to the Philippines and hosted 2 competition-based TV shows. Since then, Allison has become quite prolific with a ton of work across magazines, music videos, ads, and short films. She continues to book work to this very day, openly thanking the internet and 4chan for setting her down this path. In 2011, she married her longtime boyfriend, with the couple welcoming a son to the world last year. The start of 2005 saw the launch of a brand new website called YouTube, which allowed anyone to upload and share videos with the world. Early on, most uploads were simple, unpolished vlogs. The biggest creators just talked to a camera about their life, current events, or other thoughts and interests they had. This led viewers to feel like they knew them on a personal level. Among them included a 16-year-old named Bree Avery. In May of 2006, she created a channel called Lonely Girl 15. Her earliest videos are tributes to some of her favorite vloggers. They inspired her to make videos of her own, and eventually she bought a webcam, doing a face reveal a month later.
Hi guys, so this is my first video blog. I've been watching for a while and I really like a lot of you guys on here.
Over the next few months, she uploaded frequently, often several times a week. This is where we would get a glimpse into her life. Bree collected stuffed animals, showing off her beloved purple monkey puppet on camera. The 16-year-old was homeschooled, which is why she spent most of her time online. Her best friend was an 18-year-old named Daniel, who also had his own channel called Daniel Beast. This was back when YouTube had a feature called Video Responses. It allowed users to post reply uploads that appeared directly beneath the original. This man often made his own vlogs replying to hers, adding his own perspective and other details about things going on in their life. Of course, as her channel picked up traction, many began to wonder if the two had feelings for each other. It was a consistent source of drama, one that nearly ended their friendship. But most speculation centered around her parents' unusual religious beliefs. These beliefs, as it turns out, were part of the reason she was homeschooled. While only alluded to at first, it slowly became a bigger presence in her life. In July, she got into a fight with Daniel after he refused to go with her to a spiritual summer camp.
Seriously, what's going on? I don't
You just
get it.
posted a video basically saying that what I believe in is really weird.
I did post a video,
Yeah,
but I mean, does this have to be on? Yes, we are talking,
Yes, we are
but we're talking with a stupid camera on.
While they did reconcile, and Daniel agreed to come along, it was far from resolved. The two kept arguing, and the more she talked about it, the more it sounded like she was in a cult.
So today I got some really cool news from my parents. I've been chosen to participate in a ceremony. The ceremony is a really big deal in my religion. They only have them once in a really long while, and it's very, very difficult to attend.
This is when many viewers started to suspect not everything was as it seems. For one, the way Bree and Daniel replied to each other's videos felt unnatural, as if they were piecing together a story. Other moments felt scripted, like when her dad walked in on her during a video. At this point, the most dedicated sleuths flocked to her official forum to exchange clues. This would end up being a huge hint by itself because the forum was created before her channel existed. That didn't pair well with proof someone trademarked the name Lonely Girl 15. It quickly became clear there was more to the story than some unassuming 16-year-old girl. They moved the investigation off-site before coming up with a way to prove an answer once and for all. You see, while she mainly posted on YouTube, Bree also had accounts on sites like MySpace where she regularly interacted with other users. That September, an amateur detective sent her a link containing an IP tracker. She didn't notice, and they were able to trace her location, linking the profile back to the offices of the Creative Artists Agency. It was a smoking gun, definitively outing Lonely Girl 15 and friends as fictional characters. This revelation turned the channel into a national headline. Many began praising the story for its innovative storytelling. The creator stepped forward, giving insight to how it all came together. As it turns out, the project was conceived shortly after creator Miles Beckett dropped out of college. He discovered YouTube and grew interested in using vlogs for a fictional narrative. This led him to Lonely Girl 15, a series that disguised itself as the videos of a typical high schooler. Beckett pitched the idea to a friend and filmmaker named Mesh Flinders. Between the two of them, they went into $50,000 of credit card debt. With the money secured, for auditions, they put up a casting call on Craigslist called The Children of Anchor Cove. This is where they would meet Jessica Lee Rose, who would later become the actress for Bree. The cast slowly came together, and they got to work decorating the characters' rooms. Despite the uncertainty, the project was an immediate success, with several of her videos hitting the front page. The fact that it incorporated video responses, allowing users to follow along naturally, made it feel even more unique. The reveal made her channel far more prolific than it ever was before. By the end of the month, Lonely Girl 15 was the most subscribed to channel on all of YouTube. The show continued after this, and now able to commit to its ideas without worrying as much about realism. It finally left her room as Bree and Daniel escaped the cult and went on the run. This period would also mark another milestone, the first ever YouTube sponsorship.
Hey, what is that?
What? Icebreaker sour scum.
Can I have a piece?
I would love a piece.
Yes.
I only have 4 left.
What do you mean there's only 3 of us in the car?
The rest of the series doesn't really pertain to this video. The reason I bring this up at all is because even though Lonely Girl 15 was a fake e-girl, she still had a real impact on the archetype she was based on. The fact such a viral channel would end up being a fictional creation led many to grow wary anytime someone new showed up to the scene. For examples, there were rumors Boxxy was a paid actress, but we'll talk about her next. The fact that Bree came so early in the genre, before even some of the most iconic faces from that era appeared, is both impressive and proves the creator's point. Part of what made the character work is that much of this content existed within a strange middle ground, between sincere and insincere. These were videos that felt both personal and like an intentional performance, and would lead into the most famous e-girl of the era. Our next story begins all the way back in 2006 on a site called Gaia Online. Gaia hosted a number of anime and video game adjacent communities. What set it apart from other forums was its avatar system. You see, each user received a customizable character to represent them on the platform. There were a vast array of options, with a huge draw being its potential for roleplay. Among the many young users drawn to the platform was a 14-year-old named Katie Wayne. That April, she made an account called Moldy Lunchbox. The earliest posts show her sharing art and doing site-wide quests for rewards. Her activity was sporadic until 2007, when she returned under the username Boxxy. It was followed by a thread called Boxxy Quest, where people could help her buy stuff for her avatar. This attracted several regulars who donated while inquiring about her location and appearance. Most were frequent posters on 4chan, including the user Admiral Awesome, abbreviated in Leet speak as Addy. After making a generous donation of 27,000 gold, he asked Boxxy for a YouTube shoutout. She created her channel back in January of 2008, and uploaded her first video the next day.
Okay, hi. Okay. My name is Boxxy. Most of you know me as, most of you know me as Boxxy.
It was followed by a second shoutout video 2 days later. Boxxy was cartoonishly hyperactive and wildly expressive, perfectly aligning with the period of the internet's random humor. Now, at this point, Katie wasn't trying to play a character. She was just dialing it up for the camera. It was never meant to be seen by anyone outside of that thread. The video sat in obscurity until a year later on December 27, 2008. That day, her first upload was shared on iambored.com. The posts got hundreds of replies, with most split between finding her unbearable and endearing. It quickly spread to other forums and image boards, eventually landing on 4chan's random board. Just on the cusp of the new year, a You Rage You Lose thread was created featuring her videos. It backfired with a sizable camp developing a crush on her instead. I'm 23 and I would marry her anytime. I would divorce my beautiful 26-year-old wife if I could marry Boxxy. It's worth clarifying most people thought she was 21 as that was the age listed on her profile. Boxxy became a meme as threads about her dominated the board. Given how little was known about her, they were mostly full of speculation. Some theorized she was an actor, while others attributed her behavior to drug abuse. This collective obsession only grew over time as her face became inescapable. They didn't know a lot about her, which made her feel enigmatic. Of course, her popularity was far from unanimous, and the fact she had invaded every thread would end up sparking a site-wide civil war. During this era, tensions had been building in the community. It might seem silly, but those who used 4chan took it very seriously. There was a huge division between old and new users, who I'll be referring to henceforth as old frogs and new frogs to not get demonetized. Old frogs felt the site was being ruined with memes and what they considered pointless threads. In that way, Boxxy epitomized everything the new frogs loved and the old frogs hated. And with no sign of the phenomena slowing down, a group of old frogs decided to retaliate by launching a doxing campaign known as Operation Valkyrie. The mission was simple: scour the web for any info they could use against her. To make a long story short, it was a complete failure. They turned up completely empty, with some guessing she lived in Australia or Eastern Europe. However, the fact people were looking at all was enough for Katie to delete her channel. This was seen as a win and fueled the campaign as they continued to follow dead ends and red herrings. That takes us to January 6, 2009, when a user shared one of the many accounts impersonating her. The post got a reply from someone claiming to be the real Boxxy, stating the impersonator was fake. Now, it should be noted, posts like these weren't uncommon, and they were usually just trolls pretending to be her. Unsurprisingly, the anon was met with heavy skepticism. Get the fuck out, troll. I've been keeping an eye on you guys. Yeah, right, like you have nothing better to do? Aren't you supposed to be on Gaia or something? Are you kidding me? I don't go on Gaia anymore. Gaia is so fucking stupid. These videos were posted more than a year ago. However, unlike other similar instances, this anon shared 2 photos of proof. While skeptics admitted the pictures resembled Boxxy, they argued it could be a very close lookalike and remained unconvinced. The thread eventually expired and most dismissed the exchange, until 2 days later when a new channel appeared named Boxxy Baby. It featured her 2 original uploads as well as the announcement of a 3rd new video. This turned out to be the real deal, with Boxxy indeed uploading on January 9th.
Okay, hi. So, my name is Boxxy, and it's been a while since I made a new video, so I decided that because of recent events that I could make a new video.
Katie discusses her virality and everything that happened after her videos. That includes confirming the 4chan posts were actually her, and that she had been watching them the whole time. This revelation flipped the entire board on its head. The tables had turned, and as a result, just about every thread on B was devoted to her new video. The traffic generated 70,000 views, landing her on the front page of YouTube, and from there her momentum skyrocketed. The new upload garnered 300,000 views over the next week, which was a very impressive metric for 2009. The vast majority came to the upload completely unaware of its backstory, especially after a shout-out from Philip DeFranco. It's now her most popular video of all time, sitting at over 25 million views. I know this term is often overused, but Boxxy truly was iconic. Needless to say, her revived popularity ignited the flames on B. Boxxy threads were more widespread than ever, and now being targeted with coordinated spam brigades. It only made the new frogs double down in spite, with many coming to view Boxxy as much more than just a girl with a webcam. She's caused massive damage to the egos of the internet tough guys here. At least half the faggots have been trolled hard and can't stop crying. This is the best thing to happen to B in ages. Your anger only feeds this monster. The conflict was escalating and the detractors had 2 options: either give up and leave, which many did, or fight. And with admins refusing to intervene, they decided to take matters into their own hands. The result was Operation Clampdown, a plan to, quote, destroy the cancer once and for all. They warned that if nothing was done to stop the flood of Boxxy threads, the site would be forcibly taken offline with a DDoS attack. This image even shares a tool for users to participate, with the date set for January 10th at exactly 6 p.m. As the time of the strike approached, the entirety of 4chan began to slow down, and a few minutes later there was nothing left but a white 404 page. Operation Clampdown was a success, albeit a short-lived one, given that the site came back 3 hours later. But it paid off, as afterward, all Boxxy threads were subsequently banned. Now, with their board seemingly back to normal, you might think this is where it ended. But instead, a week later, 11 old frogs formed the Center for Boxxy Control and Restriction, also known as CBCR. By then, Boxxy was an internet-wide phenomenon, and so they sought to finish what Operation Valkyrie started: harass a young woman who had done no harm whatsoever into wiping their online presence. They communicated via IRC, where they began collecting her private information. This group included a remixer named Gastric Penguin, who Boxxy actually shouted out in her most famous video.
This one kid, he remixed a lot of my videos, and they were so cool, and his name was Gastric Penguin, and he was so funny.
As it turns out, they had some detailed conversations in private which would end up leaking. Their first major discovery was an old channel from 2006 named Satisfaction. It showed her trying to climb up a fence in response to a viral video.
And here I go.
This led them to the now deleted MySpace account, which was preserved by Google Cache. The profile contained Gaia-related artwork, as well as several personal details. Her name was Katie, she lived in California, and she was only 16 years old. With this information, the CBCR was able to hack into her accounts. Although the exact method wasn't shared, it involved cracking her security questions. This video, from someone who spoke to the CBCR, states they had her full history going back to 2005. The docs is said to have included not just her school and location, but detailed reports of all of her friends from Gaia Online. Upon accessing the channel, they privated all of her videos and uploaded a new one warning her to stay off the internet. The following is the message they shared, dated January 18th, 2009. Dear Boxxy, hi, this is the internet speaking. We are not happy with what you have done to us. The cancer which you have spread across the web is now over. We have your full docs. Never create another video again. The rest of the upload lists the members of the CBCR who believe the internet would laud them as heroes. The fact that they were trying to get famous soured many people's opinions that took their side originally. It was met with immense backlash, getting over 1,000 comments in just the first hour. Many were attempts to dox the perpetrators. The pressure was mounting behind the scenes, with a schism over what to do with her account. This is where things started to get a bit confusing, so bear with me. Several sources state they were bluffing and never had her dox, but this is contradicted by a 4-minute follow-up the CBCR made to clarify their intentions. They first state that the stunt wasn't done for e-fame, but to, quote, achieve a psychological dominance over Boxxy by scaring the person behind it. You gotta love the logic here. They weren't doing this to try to be famous, but rather just wanted to harass a minor. Then they address what happened after the takeover. The dox, as it turns out, was real, but was never meant to be released. That changed when a member went rogue and leaked it to the public. The CBCR felt it was urgent to put out a mention disavowing groups trying to hunt her down in real life. Those that stayed in the group after this formed the OBSE, which spread disinformation to discredit the real docs. The scandal was prolific enough to receive traditional news coverage. A blog was also made documenting the story titled Boxxygate. The hack lasted 2 days, with her channel restored on January 20th. Despite this, Katie still couldn't access the channel. It would remain inactive for the next 2 years, and while the CBCR was largely defunct, the obsession over her life persisted. With discussions banned on 4chan, fanatics migrated to sites solely devoted to Boxxy. The most popular was an image board called iHeartBoxxy. In addition to the public forum, there was a secret section called the Council Chamber. This is where trusted members divulged details kept from the broader public. It unraveled when members of the council started bragging about the secrets on B. They revealed the existence of 2 new videos of Katie filmed by her friends at a festival that spring. On July 12th, a thread was created about the council hoarding these videos. It escalated to the point that one of their members was doxxed and threatened with a raid. Eventually, the owner of Boxxy caved and shared the clips. Katie appears briefly, showing just how desperate people were for anything new. In the weeks that followed, murmurs emerged of an event called Box Peace. The poster invited both lovers and haters to visit her hometown on July 25th. 14 people showed up to try and meet her in real life, with much of it recorded on video. They went to several of the alleged addresses, and ended up knocking at her actual door. The following excerpt is from the blog Boxxygate. Once they arrived, they were stopped by a chair barricade. Big Red pushed the chair aside and rang the bell. While waiting, he caught a glimpse of someone with dark hair running past a window. A blonde woman answered the door, and Big Red asked for Katie. The woman told him that she lived alone and that he had to leave. Before Big Red and the group left, they placed a set of flower petals spelling out the alias Anon. Afterward, they harassed one of her high school ex-boyfriends, accusing him of deflowering her. The line had not just been crossed, but vaulted over, as people continued invading her personal life. That fall, a video surfaced of Katie performing in a school play. It was uploaded by her real-life friend Nikki, who began arguing with trolls in the comments. They were eventually able to get her to join one of the Boxxy forums, where they badgered her with questions. Nikki ended up spilling a lot of details trying to defend Katie from trolls. Even worse, however, were those that gained her trust. You see, among them was a user named California, who led the trolling group Killwebs. Killwebs sought to take down all Boxxy sites in what they dubbed Operation Counter-Strike. California allegedly started flirting with a teenager, collecting her private information while gaining her trust. He was eventually able to obtain 60 previously unseen photos of Katie. These were released to the public, covered in watermarks, alongside a video containing Nikki's dox. In retaliation, a group from 888chan doxed California, revealing his full name and address. After this, Killwebs was shut down, and never to return. On October 1st, 2009, Nikki contacted Katie to explain what was going on. An excerpt of the phone call has Katie expressing her opinion bluntly.
Because what my problem is that it's like, I didn't do anything. Maybe if I had done something worth, acknowledging, I would be able to take the fucking, bad with the good. But I'm not getting any good. Do you see what I mean? It's a bit much to call me a celebrity, but, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's getting to the point where it's it's invading my personal life, and I'm not getting any benefits.
The next day, a meeting was held with Nikki, Katie, and all the admins of the forums and image boards related to Boxxy. The consensus was that they should comply with her wishes for the sites to be shut down. While a few stayed like Unichan, most did close down for good. In the following months, her channel sat in jeopardy due to a series of fraudulent copyright strikes. The claimant, Leah Dawson, said she owned the trademarks Boxxy and Boxxy Baby. This was never actually proven, and the videos were reinstated a month later. This happened multiple times over the next year, with her channel's fate entirely dependent on an automated system. Katie was now in her senior year of high school, and still a part of her school's plays. Several local Anons began attending to take photos of her to post on the internet. The first time I looked her into the eyes, I was fighting it. The second time it happened, she just broke down anything cynical that was happening in my head, and I was just happy for the first time in a long while. I was hooked, and I wanted it to happen a third time. It didn't happen, but I was glad she wasted 2 seconds of her time just to look at me. I'm smiling just thinking about how this girl could do this to me with just a glance. They were so starved, they launched a fake campaign claiming she would return that June. It was partially in hopes she would see it and play along. Of course, nothing happened, and many gave up on the idea Katie would ever return. But things took a surprising turn that November when Moot, the creator of 4chan, posted an image of himself hanging out with Boxxy. There's speculation he faked it, but given that he met with her again 4 years later, that seems unlikely. It was also shared a few weeks before her unexpected return to the internet, which came in the form of an eBay listing for a used anime shoulder bag. The auction began on November 18th, and as word got around, it quickly shot up to $1 million. Given these clearly weren't real bids, Katie removed the auction. But the response led her to visit JenniCam, one of the remaining fan sites, sharing time-stamped photos holding a card with her PayPal. A week later, a new channel appeared called A New Hope, with a parody of Leah's message from its namesake film.
Sir Unanites, years ago you served my cause in the Chan Wars. Now I beg you to help me in my struggle against the haters.
That's all to say Boxxy needed help getting her account back. This new channel went dormant until January 10th, 2011, when she finally made a formal return to the internet. Katie announced she had been making more Boxxy videos, explaining the sudden hiatus was due to personal issues.
I was gonna make like a Merry Christmas Boxxy video, and then what happened, like this horrible thing happened to me, and I was just like, I can't do this.
It quickly amassed 3 million hits. This video establishes Boxxy as a character, a key change moving forward. With a better grasp on the internet, her online presence became more intentional. It was a way to display her skills as an actress. Her next video was on April Fool's, where a new character named Svetlana claims to have hacked Boxxy's account. This storyline ended with the reveal she had gotten access back to her original Boxxy Baby channel. That July, it was revived with the first Boxxy video in over 2 years.
I think that you're confused because the girl that you hacked is not me. Because my account is not A New Hope. It is Boxxy Babe with 2 E's. And I would have posted this video on there, but I haven't gotten my account back yet.
Her return was to great fanfare, garnering over 5 million views. It was followed by another 2 months later where she shouted out a band. While she did make a few more Boxxy videos over the years, it never really was the same. It's clear over time she lost interest in playing the character with the last official Boxxy appearance in 2014. There was, however, supposed to be a final hurrah. Katie was to appear as Boxxy in a movie called The Chronicles of Rickroll. Set inside the internet, it brought together viral stars like the Bed Intruder guy, the Double Rainbow guy, the Numa Numa guy, and Leroy Jenkins. It struggled to get funding and was never released, with many considering it lost media, although I sometimes wonder if it was even fully made in the first place. For many, her involvement in this project was the final straw. She had officially sold out. The original unassuming charm of Boxxy was lost. That being said, the vast majority didn't seem to mind. Her personal channel amassed over 300,000 subs, uploading vlogs and collabs with other YouTubers. It remained active until June of 2017, when she posted a video announcing her retirement. Katie reflects on her online journey here, and how she came to embrace her virality. She was retiring to pursue a career in professional voice acting, having gotten her first break. I sometimes wonder if the only reason she ever came back to the internet was to try to springboard her online success into a career in Hollywood. This would make sense considering she retired the same day she announced she had a real job. While Boxxy hasn't had a ton of roles since, she did play Isabella in a viral Animal Crossing parody by YouTuber Hot Diggity Demon. And Katie still is active on social media to a diminished audience. Her Twitter profile concedes she's a YouTube has-been. The last thing worth mentioning is perhaps the most fitting tribute to her significance to the internet. In early 2009, an aspiring developer named The Shrimp joined Boxxy's fan forum. He would end up dedicating his first game to her, a gag RPG called Boxxy Quest: The Shifted Spires. While it quickly faded into obscurity, he thought about the project for years. In 2018, he decided to revisit the game after a decade of experience. That included getting voice acting from Boxxy herself. It was envisioned as a tribute to the internet of yesteryear, and with over 30 hours of gameplay, there's undoubtedly a lot of passion put into it. And with that, we conclude Boxxy's story, although this still hasn't conveyed the sheer scope of her influence. Her character inspired a number of online personalities, such as Shuanhead, who people often mistook for Katie. Boxxy remains a staple of internet memes, and even today still lives on to many as a symbol of her era. Tabitha Rittiman, or as she became known, Tabby, created her channel in 2009 when she was 14. That July, she uploaded a vlog about her new pet ferret. It also showed an assortment of other comedic clips strung together with fast-paced editing. The video wasn't noticed until September 24th when it was shared in a You Rage You Lose thread on 4chan. This was right after Boxxy had disappeared, so many were looking to fill her absence. Before long, Tabby was being declared the new Queen of B, albeit to a smaller scale. I'm sure you get the drill by now because they quickly obtained her personal info as well as over 200 pictures across her different accounts. That included many photos of her mother and sister. The attention frightened the teen enough to delete all of her online profiles. A lot of what they knew came from a blog they found of her mother. It revealed Tabby had been homeschooled her entire life. We have contemplated putting Tabby in school for the spring semester in our new home. We would not be able to control what kids she met at the middle school, which is one of the reasons I wanted to move and get her out of the inner city. All of this stalking led her mother to start threatening re-uploaders, stating she had already contacted Kentucky State Police. Despite this, Tabby returned less than a week later on September 29th. That day she created the channel Tabs247 and uploaded a video addressing all the mixed reactions.
So, half of you guys out there love me and half of you guys hate me. Honestly, I love you all. Personally, I have nothing against you guys who don't like me.
2 months later, she uploaded a video titled Score, which became her new catchphrase. It was in the style of her ferret video, but incorporated many popular memes of the time like Rickroll and This Is Sparta. It marked her official return, promising regular uploads. But this was put to an abrupt end when an ex-boyfriend named Tony leaked her nudes online. He also hacked into her YouTube channel, deleting everything. Tony was eventually sued for harassment, with the outcome never made public. Tabby created a new account in 2010, where she was finally able to post more consistently. While she never became quite as prolific as Boxxy, she did end up surpassing her subs, with her channel currently sitting at over 470,000 subscribers. Mickyy Moo was a 17-year-old that lived in Sydney, Australia. She enjoyed poetry, often sharing her writings on Tumblr. Her blog caught 4chan's attention in February of 2010 when she wrote the following post. Dear Anonymous, after watching your 4chan website, B in particular, for 15 minutes, I came to the decision that my first assumption was right. You are all a bunch of low-life fags. Your way of life disgusts me. Middle-aged men with no self-esteem who live in their parents' basement. Not to mention, you are all a bunch of gutless retards who feel the need to hide behind a computer screen to pick on young girls. You should go eat some ice cream, give yourself a pedicure, and cry a little more. Because with the way you all are going, you'll be dead by the end of the year. The post was quickly shared on 4chan, where most people either didn't care or found it funny. However, those who took the site too seriously were outraged that she would dare insult them. They flooded her form spring with reportedly unfunny nonsense, only for it to backfire. Mickyy responded in such an overconfident, troll-like way that many users ended up taking her side. Even when B found her personal info, no one actually did anything with it. The best they could muster were a few hateful comments on old YouTube videos. Mickyy replied with a new article on her Tumblr. About f***ing time. When you read my post, I bet it was like looking in a mirror, wasn't it? If you lived up to the name that you promote so much, every inch of my internet space would be hacked, maliciously reworded, and then deleted. But considering that I am still physically able to post this on my website, it proves my point, that you are all worthless and fail at life. So B, on that note, I will end this article and say, haha, faggots, I'm still here. This is probably one of the few instances where 4chan was completely outplayed, though they clearly weren't sending their best. They did manage to hack her Yahoo account, although it doesn't seem anything of note happened as she regained access quickly thereafter. Following a now lost YouTube video addressing B as she moved on and never mentioning them again. This led her to get the reputation as the Queen of the Trolls. The original thread had so much backlash, it became one of the board's longest-running posts of all time. Mickyy went on to pursue work as a model, appearing on the Australian news show A Current Affair. It aired over 10 years ago, with little to no information on her whereabouts since. Rose Gotto, better known as Randy Taylor69, is a British YouTuber who joined the site back in 2007. These early vlogs had Rose talking to the camera about a variety of subjects. Many wound up going viral, with the comments uncertain as to whether or not she was a woman.
UKPKMKK says, I wanna fuck you in the ass right now. Thank you. It's nice to get some appreciation around here. Oh, he followed it up with a comment. Never mind. Just found out you're a girl.
She branched out to a gaming channel in 2011, which quickly caught the attention of 4chan. That summer, a video of her building a PC was shared on G, the site's technology board. They latched onto her soft-spoken demeanor and offbeat sense of humor. It wasn't long until she became an icon of the community, as many declared her the Queen of G. You see, what made her really stand out at the time was the rise of the fake gamer girl. It described women who openly pretended to like video games for attention. Redditor types would mock these women for supposedly only being a nerd because they watched The Big Bang Theory and played Angry Bird on their iPad. But on Rose's channel, she showed herself playing hardcore games like Civilization and Counter-Strike. This is all it took to endear her to a growing fan base of lonely young guys who were now taking over V. While most were harmless and simply liked her videos, others began trying to put together a dox. At first she embraced the attention, adding a number of her fans on Steam, but that included one particularly obsessed stalker, who grew enraged when she took too long to respond to his messages. This led the user to start leaking everything he knew about her, including many of her family and friends. The dox spread around 4chan, which the mods cracked down on by banning any and all discussion of her. The extent of the stalker's activities vary between recounts. He apparently demanded her to stop making videos and claimed to follow her around in real life. That was alongside a blog publicly describing his fantasies about her. As a result, Rose diminished her online presence, deleting all of her blogs, photos, as well as many videos. By then, she had been extensively archived, and the conversation simply moved elsewhere. She uploaded sporadically over the next few years, with brief returns in 2012 and 2013. Then, the video stopped altogether. Many assumed the young woman was gone for good, but she made a return in 2016. These newer videos felt a lot more experimental than her older ones. She even started releasing original Christmas songs as an annual tradition. Her most recent upload was in 2023, as last year she missed the holidays for the first time ever. While it's unclear if she'll ever return again, it seems enough time has passed for Rose to create content again on her own terms. And with that concludes the classic era of e-girls on the internet. While the term is still used in a general sense, I feel that the golden age of the moniker coincided with the golden age of 4chan, where there was in a strange way a novelness to women on the internet and an obsession over them. I would say the only person to truly recapture this obsession in recent times would be Belle Delphine, who went into her persona with the understanding of what made the internet so obsessed with the e-girls of years past. This just goes to show that people are going back to the likes of Boxxy and perceiving them as having an old school cool factor, with their personality and aesthetic still causing ripples in the online culture to this very day.